Hi, everyone, and welcome to my final analysis of Connecticut Republicans. Um, so, we're going to start off with just a brief overview again of my community. Um, Basically, what I know about my community are the core values of being a Republican, particularly in Connecticut, because I feel that the Connecticut Republicans are very different from your traditional Republicans, maybe down south or out west. We aren't as right winged as most. We're a little bit more moderate. I think what really sets us apart in this state is our fiscal policies, um, which are obviously conservative. We don't believe in overspending. We don't really believe in borrowing. Um, Budgeting seems to be something that we're, fairly well known for. Um, Hence, our positions on the bonding committee and things like that. Um, and that's really what our stand is here in Connecticut. We don't really vocalize many social issues, which is why really the Republican Party in Connecticut is purely known for their stances on fiscal policies. Um, so those are things that I knew going into this project. Things that I have learned while doing this, people are still very angry about the gun vote that we took in April, with the banning of certain automatic weapons and the magazine limit. Um, and another thing that I found quite interesting was that they're not nearly as fired up about the Affordable Care Act as I thought that they would be. There's a lot of outrage across the country, but there's not so much outrage in Connecticut. I mean, it is everywhere, but people in Connecticut don't seem to be as focused on that. Um, I've also learned that it is easier to elicit responses regarding local town issues than it is with state issues. I learned that my community is definitely more responsive to talking about things that are happening in Branford than things that are happening on the state level, even though the state level affects the town level. I think there's a little disconnect there with people, so people are more aware of what's happening in front of them rather than what's happening in the grand spectrum of things. Um, Other things about my community, there have definitely been more key influencers on Twitter than I thought that there would be, and especially more in comparison to Facebook. The thing of it is Facebook has allowed more thoughtful dialogue, whereas Twitter has allowed me to link up with these influencers, but there hasn't been that dialogue. Really, it's been more broadcast of issues. So one thing that really surprised me about my community was I thought that doing state issues would be easier than doing local issues. Obviously, I work on the state level. I know more about what's going on at the state level. That doesn't mean I don't pay attention to local politics. I just am not as aware of local politics as maybe I should be. Um, so I found that my community is really passionate about what's going on at the local level, and that really helped me in the last few weeks and throughout my campaign. So my goals for this project were pretty simple at first. My goal for the last 3 weeks was supposed to be following progress with Obamacare and kind of posting articles about new findings, some loopholes, and things that have been happening. Obviously, we know that it's kind of been a big, not mess, but kind of just a cluster and been in and out of the news. But I found that in posting a few articles, I was not getting the responses that I was hoping for. Um, so basically, I found it more beneficial to elicit conversation about current events happening in town, and this basically brought about more success in my final weeks. So my goals here were just basically I was supposed to go and talk about Obamacare, but instead I reverted back to my original project goals and found much more success. And my original project goals were drive traffic to increase community size, promote awareness of local issues, and keep constituents informed. And I did that by posting non-biased articles. I mean, even though I kind of put my own slant on them in the description, maybe pose a leading question. However, the articles that I was linking to were were definitely, non-biased, non-partisan, and allowed my constituents to kind of see both sides of the story before making up their mind. So my strategies in doing this were diversify use of Facebook and Twitter in order to reach a broader number of people, encourage participation, and constantly listen to the constituents to understand their needs and wants. And this is something that we do on a state level too. Listening to constituents is so important to understand what it is that they want and what they want moving forward or what their concerns are. Someone who lives in a different part of town, their concerns are completely different from my concerns on this side of town. And I found this to be particularly true with Costco coming into Brantford at exit 56. Now I live off of exit 53, which was also another site that was discussed for Costco. But we only have a two-way exit, and there's already so much development over here, so much construction that would be out of the question for at least another decade. There's just too many factors that are involved with developing this exit. But it seems that exit 56 is already ready to go. It has the four-way exit. It has property that can be developed. It's already pretty much developed over there with commercial venues. So obviously that won in terms of where to put the establishment. However, people in Brantford, especially up at exit 56 who live there, they're upset because they're afraid of increased traffic. They're afraid of, increased police presence. What's this going to mean for taxpayers? Things of that nature. And even though I want it because I live at exit 53 and traffic probably won't affect me, it's still good to take into consideration their needs going forward. So again, tactic one, I kind of found, in diversifying my use here, that kind of switching it up was good for the blog and my Facebook. So instead of posting all political topics, I posted general interest in local issues to gain attention and diversify, what I was posting on there, just to kind of give people a break from the monotony of what I feel like is hammering people. So I did this kind of by relating current events to the party. So one example of this was the 50th anniversary of JFK's assassination. I linked his inaugural address passage with the fact that basically, with welfare, it pays more to stay home for some people than it does to go to work, and are we still asking what can I do for my country, or has it turned into the other way around? So I kind of, have been linking, current events into my blog and trying to gain a little bit more general interest. And the other stuff is just kind of fun stuff that's going on in Brantford that I want to post about because, it's human interest. And I found that these posts were particularly effective because, they kind of got away from the norm a little bit and drove other users to my page who wouldn't normally be there. So that was tactic one. Tactic two, I encourage participation by posting thought-provoking and relevant questions. I did this on my blog and my Facebook page. I don't really find Twitter to be great at going back and forth. I think that you can get lost in the shuffle. But whereas with your blog and with Facebook, it kind of shows up right there who has liked, who has commented, and the conversation you're having. And as you can see here, the Costco discussion actually became, we had a lot of people involved. This other woman who I've actually never heard of was on my blog talking about it. And then something else interesting happened when I posted about the commercial relating to Sandy Hook. A gentleman who describes himself as a gun fanatic, said, how about actually securing schools, and commented on my blog, and I was like, wow, I don't know this person. So I found it interesting that different topics brought different people to comment. And tactic three, again, I listened to constituents about their needs and wants by acknowledging their responses and engaging them in conversation. I did this multiple times, mostly with Steve Mezikane, who is actually a reporter with Brantford 7 that covers all Brantford events and news, politics, the like. So he actually commented on one of my posts for Costco and a couple others, and you can see his on the right. And then Alec Bolito also commented about the Sandy Hook commercial, and you could see his on the left. So again, engaging them in conversation I found to be very beneficial, particularly Steve, because he answered back with very thoughtful responses, very engaged, and I appreciated that a lot. So with my ending of tactics, I'm going to just pause right here before we start going over the analytics, and I will pick up with you guys at my blog views.